Welcome back to my live stream where we talk all things worms, worm related, some gardening, worms to do with gardening, etc., where we all get together and talk about whatever's on your mind about farming, worm farming, and share everyone's knowledges and have a cuppa. So it's currently 11 o'clock lunchtime in Australia here. So hopefully people will get on the live stream today and join me. I have changed the times to hopefully meet overseas people. So we'll see how we go today. And so what I've been doing lately with my worm farm, to change it up a bit, I've had a lot of people come forward, want to take their kids, young ones fishing, and don't want to spend a fortune. So what I'll do is the worms I have here, I've got a mixed worms. I have European night crawlers. I have mixed composting worms, and there's tigers, some blues, red wrigglers, and then also got separated. I've got the red wrigglers, which I've just started only breeding this year. They seem to be doing all right. So what I've been doing is I've been putting people mixing them up for people, and so this doesn't cost them a fortune. So I'll put some European night crawlers, juveniles, and just a mixed basket, make it cheaper for them. Instead of them buying 1,000 worms, they just ended up by a handful, which is about 20 or 30, I think. I charge them a small fee, and they go fishing. And when the kids put them on the hooks, they normally fall straight off. So they might put they might put up to two or three worms on one hook. Normally, I try to make sure that the worms I give them are big enough, so they don't have to put 2 or 3 on, and cheap enough. We've had a couple of customers lately have taken the kids fishing, done very good. Caught some local bass, perch, some really big sized carp. Most of the carps, take the rivers systems over here, I see, and I see overseas most rivers are full of carp, European carp, all that stuff. Some people will eat them. Some people will eat them here. I've never tried them. I reckon they're very muddy. So we have anybody out there today on the live stream, just put a thumbs up or hello or whatever you want to do. Let me know it's working and it's out there. I'm still getting used to this. Still getting used to it. And as per normal, I start a live stream. I've got the dogs fighting. I've got the kids next door fighting. It all happens at once. But we're not here for that. So, yeah, with the worms are going worms are going good so far. Breeding slowly because it's a little bit cooler here. We're going into the warmer months in Australia. I notice increase of them starting to cocoons, etc. I'm trying different breeds of worms, trying different ways, different bedding, trying to make it easier for myself, where they've got the they call it KISS situation, where it's keep it simple, stupid. I seem to follow that pretty pretty good. But a lot of people are starting to get back into gardening now. It's warming up. They come and want to know a lot of advice about how the worms go into the above ground beds, where they survive. Questions like that I get a lot. The other one with the fishing is, why would I want to buy a worm off you when I can get them out of the garden? I say to people, that's fair enough. It's a good call. But what I've learnt, not the red regulars, but you get the jumpers, etc., the big long earthworms here in Australia, probably are overseas too. Once they go in the water and the fish nibble at them, they've got a defense system, where they lubricate themselves. So if you get one out of the garden, you're holding your hand, you don't have to squeeze it, you're just holding your hand, and you see it's like a slime. That's a defense thing. So when predators and stuff in the wild pick them up, they don't like the taste, and they spit them out. When you're in the water, what people don't realise, a turtle or a carp or something will come up, nibble on it, or even if he just grabs hold of it and lets go of it, it sends this sticky stuff off. And the sticky stuff off, and puts an odour in the water, which we can't smell, but they can smell in the water. The other fish, they won't come nowhere near. Now, a couple of years ago, I had a gentleman, and he had like a landscaping business, and he used to get thousands of them, lots of big poles of them, and they were like 30 centimetre long or more, and they were jumping, a bit like the American Alabama, I think Chinese jumper or Alabama jumper, I think they call them. They're a big one. But the second you stick a hook in them, they squirt all this stuff out. And I didn't know, and I was selling to people, and they kept coming back saying, no good, can't catch nothing. They either jump off or snap. It took me a while to work it out until I met another gentleman, and he explained to me what the situation. He showed me. He got one and put it in his hand, and he opened his hand up and said, look at that slime there. He said, that slime, that's what gets in the water. Similar than an eel. Most eels in Australia here, you catch when they get slime everywhere. Once you get that slime on your line, no other fish will want to come near it. So it's just the little things you have to look out for when you're using different types of worms. We've got other things to sell the worms for. They got the people buy them for the fish tanks. They don't want to spend a fortune. A lot of them have fish called Oscars. They're pretty vicious little things. They are carnivore. They like to eat the meat. And and they end up feeding them. They got Oscar. Oh, there was, I already said Oscars. They got they've got, what's the other one? They got different types of tank animals. They got, it looks like a lizard, lives on the water. They have them. Some people will use them for multiple things. But pointing out that during the school holidays, we had a lot of people come forward and ask, they want to get kids' worm farm. Problem is, they get the farm, they'll go to certain stores and spend a big fortune, and it costs them $300-400 to get it set up for a kid, and people haven't got that type of money to do so. So what I just tell them, the basics, how to make a cheap worm farm. If they don't want fancy, sell them a second-hand worm farm with some worms for half the price. And down the track, if they live local, they can just come forward Text me whenever and I get a chance. I can pop around the house and check what's going wrong, give them pointers. Because most worm farms, these these towers they have, these big towers, they're stackable ones. Unless we say kids under 10, when they overfeed them. At the end of the day, the kid has an apple, has a few things. They go out, they open the lid off it, and they put the apple core, banana, whatever they're eating in it. Sometimes lollies, stuff like that. If you're not watching them, then it heats up, and unless the worms go down to the bottom, they'll heat up and die. Sometimes I've had people come and say the kids keep putting dog food in there, which is a meat product, and it makes it rancid and smells the whole place out. And yeah, it's all these little things you got to look out for. You can't, I mean, as a parent myself, you can keep your kids in where they are, but if you can put the worm farm somewhere where then they can't access real quick, it's a lot easier. And then on the other hand, I have mainly fathers will come forward and they want to set up a worm farm. So when they do go fishing in a year or so, they can collect their own worms. But even then, they overfeed them or don't look after them and they get too skinny or die. But they want some advice. So these are little things that pop up, little subjects will pop up. And anyone out there who does worm farming or sells worms and stuff, you have to reach out and you have to help people. I'm a people person. I like to go and help people, give them the cheapest way instead of trying to make money. Instead of make money out of people, I'm thinking, I really charge these parents all this money and charge them this and that. I don't think like that. It's money comes and goes. I want the kids to enjoy the worms, and then word of mouth. I get more clients, more people aboard. So yeah, and then a lot of the ones. There's so many. I've got. I'm just trying to read the chats here. So if anyone's out there, just put a thumbs up or anything in my chat so I know it's working. I know some people like to type, they just want to listen, but it just helps me know if it's working properly. Right, you get the simple auto bins that you got, the auto bins you have out there for your rubbish. If you get a spare one, you can pick up a marketplace reasonably quick. $50. Sometimes you can buy ones even really. There's companies that make them done. The events, they've got all that good stuff in them. And then you place your compost in, and then you put your worms in, and you put your household scraps. They do last a long time. I got 4 or 5 of them outside behind my house, behind my back door, for my wife and my kids, just to put the scraps in. I've shown them how to do it. Instead of going all the way over to the backyard in the dark, I've got my mixed compost worms in there, and it's a win-win situation. There's plenty of videos out there on YouTube. You can see how to make them. Some will have a open front where you can put a twisty door, or put a door on there, so you can access the castings. If you're not really worried about that, my one, I just put holes on the side, holes on top of the lid, holes in the lid, and and then that's it gives them enough air, and I quarter fill it so I can reach down, and then I'll put a tarp, a blanket or bark or something over the top, and then each day just come along corner feed. You pick a corner, dig it out with your hands, or put gloves on, or rake, whatever you want to use. with food scraps, they can mulch them down or cut them down. The microbes will break it down quicker, and the worms will better wait till the microbes come in, and then the worms will come in. The worms can eat the microbes, which breaks it down. A lot of people will say if you've got a kilo of worms, you can get rid of a kilo of scraps. I think to play safe, put 500 grams. You're not going to weigh it, but you get to know how much it is. And if you don't want to worry, if you don't know how many worms you got in there, what you do is just by eye. Do it by eye. So what you do, you just each week, if you put it in there, just scrape it back, have a look. If it's not eaten, don't give them any more. Or if you have to, and you want to put it in the opposite corner so it doesn't all heat up. You don't want to feed your worms meat and bones and most dairy. I have put yogurts and stuff in my worm farms and stuff, but I recommend not to. It does go off. It will get smelly and smell the place out. Meat and bones, they won't break down. And just once again, you're going to attract every rat and possum in the neighborhood to come and get in your bins. And that's a lot. Hello, John. How are you today, Jonathan? He's John is here. We have life. We'll see if I can get high tech now. Yeah, once you yeah, there we go. Hi, John. Yes. So if you got this computer, so if you're putting too much meat, put meat and yogurt into your bins, you're going to attract all types of problems. But that's all right, John. You'll be late. No one's fighting. Nobody's fighting. No one's fighting in comments to fight you talked about worms. That's okay. I was a little bit early getting on today. Just make sure this works. As I was saying before, between my dogs fighting at the back patio here and my neighbours' little kids being kids and beating each other up. Off to a good start, but cross my fingers they're quieting down a little bit. Kids will be kids. Yes, so I was just saying with the not to put the meat or dairy into your bins. It'll attract possums and all the stuff you don't want. With castings, with the castings, depending what you're feeding them and how they are and stuff like that, it's I see people here in Australia that they've got the urban worm bins and different types of worm bins, and when they want castings, they just scrape the top. The worms will go down. Worms will go down, and then the worms will go down, and then they'll take them castings out of the top. Oh, hello, Sandra. You made my day, Sandra, getting on my live. I've been trying to get someone from your part of the world to get on my live for so long, and you made my whole morning, Sandra. Thank you for going on my live stream. As Sandra would know, she's got the worm farms and was just saying about. I'll see if I can type back here. I'm trying to get fancy here, Sandra. I'll probably spell your name wrong. No, mine. Really set it off. There you go. Yes. Yep. 6 o'clock over there, Sandra. Is that correct? Am I right? Where it's lunchtime over in Australia here. I've been trying to get the time period right because 83% or 82%, only because the YouTube tells me about it, not because I'm smart enough to know that. That 83% of my customers are in America. So I use the chat GTP, trying to get technical, to find out what the best time to do it. So they said between 6 and 8 o'clock in America, it's a good time to have a live chat, or 10 o'clock here. So how's everything going in your part of the world, Sandra? How's your worms and gardens and all that's going? Good. I've been watching your video, and you start to put out a lot of content with your worms and stuff like that. I try to put some, with me breeding so many, not as big as most of the worm farms over your way, but there's only so much you can put on. Okay, all my worm bins are outside until we get our new house. That's right. Yes, you just switched the light bulb on. Yes. I think I watched the video the other day of your new house. Is that correct? You near the ponds and stuff. It's very pretty, very organised, groomed garden. It is. And I was saying that once worm castings into the, it's going to really go. It's really going to. So, oh, fancy Sandra golf course, eh? Oh, wow. As long as you're into golf, if you didn't like golf, you wouldn't want to be there. But it is a very nice place. Everything looks groomed and neat. It's one of them. It looks like one of them areas where everybody's like maintains their gardens and stuff and keeps up with the maintain. They haven't got that odd person's got 6 cars and and shit in their place. So it's now it's very good. It's very good. It's it must be a big yeah. Well, we can learn the golf, get out in the sun, the buggy. But most people I see in Australia here driving buggies around there, I think they just do it to drink the alcohol. They don't even play golf. Too busy annoying people. I'm too lazy. I see no point hitting the ball and chasing it. But that's just my opinion anyway. It'd be good because people like where you are. But wheelchair users, so I probably golf. Well, we never know. You never know, Sandra. You never know. You can get around. You can find a way. Even if you don't play golf, you're still getting out and about, getting out in the sun, enjoying life. We all can. I grew up around a lot of older people. I've seen, how age can get old quick and etc. You can sit around and mope and say, poor me, or we can get out and do something to the best of your ability. You can get out, like yourself. You got your worms, you got your garden. You seem to be moving around all right. Everything's nice and neat. You may other half might give you a hand or family members, but you got worms. That's all you need. That's all you need. Another worm whisperer. That's all you need. We've got these horse whisperers and dog whisperers, known as the worm whisperer. I've seen of a lot of the videos. I say America, and you got different parts of America, of course, but a lot of them are starting to use AI things to do videos and stuff, and I don't watch them much anymore because it's a paid commercial thing. It's not even the person talking. It's about worm stuff, but it's like watching an ad. I like watching you and others over there. It's the real thing. Look, you drop something, whatever it is you do. It's real life. You make mistakes. You got composting, how it heats up, how it doesn't heat up, stuff like that. people learn. I've watched quite a few videos from around the world. Those all AI voices. Yeah. I won't mention. I'm not going to mention names of people over there that there are big worm farmers over there that are starting to do it. I don't know if it's because they've got no content to put on there, or someone's helping them do it. But people switch straight off. You just switch straight off. You'd like, this is it's a commercial. It's not even them. It's like cartoon characters. But yeah, with the making your own compost, pre-compost before you're giving in the worms, if I'm correct, Sandra, that's what you'll mainly do. I've watched a fair few, say four to five videos lately in parts of America. People just started worm farming, and I'm watching it and thinking, oh, I've seen this somewhere before, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, and they're doing the idea of the cardboard and the coffee and all that stuff, and getting pre-composting it and then giving it the worms. So I'm pretty sure, Sandra, if I'm correct, that's what you do with your ones, with your bins, and a lot of people are following, and that's what people will follow. They see something and they think, oh, I'll try that, and that's what we all should help each other out. I understand bigger worm farmers out there, that commercial worm farmers, not just like you and I, but commercial worm farmers I understand that they want to share their businesses, share their business ideas and that, but it doesn't help to give a bit of help people now and then. So it's crazy times, crazy things. But just like my shed here is a cold little shed this morning, and it's pretty much basic shed where I've got everything set up. All up in here. I've locked the dogs out, locked them all out, locked the kids out, or the neighbours' kids anyway, and enjoying people's time. They're trying to talk about worms and stuff. Last live we ended up talking to a gentleman from New Zealand. I was talking to John. We started talking about gardening. We end up veering from worm farming to gardening, because how he gets the worms. He had a I think it was 9-tier worm tower. I haven't seen them, only guessing. And thanks, Sandra. I know you can hear me, but I want to be fancy and type. You watch, I'll spell your name wrong, like I always do. Yeah, boom. There we go. Yes, so I would say, yep, that's right. I agree. I am old school and I prefer real people talk. Yeah, we'll see, Sandra. I grew up around older people on small farms and stuff. As a kid, I never ran around with kids my age. So some people say to me, when you talk, you sound like a 105-year-old, Darren. You couldn't have done all that in your life. I'm like, well, I did, because I hung around older people and stuff. And word of mouth is the best, better than any of this social things or phones and stuff, Facebooks. At the moment, I find people just ringing me up. I ask them, oh, how'd you get hold of me? And they go, oh, well, I've got, Barry down the pub told me he got some worms for the kids. He was happy. And I'm selling more worms now, not a lot, handfuls of worms now, to people that are actually, they're happy, they're happy. Now, if I did the opposite and they didn't like what I sold, it'd be the complete opposite. They'd be sitting around saying, oh, Darren's hopeless, blah, 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 bad publicity. Social media, it's either good or bad. If you're going good and your business is good and everything's going good, it's good times. But if you do wrong by people, well, it's going to bite you in the ass. And word of mouth, it's not too bad, but when it comes out in the social world, it can really blow up. A few videos, Sandra, certain worm farmers over your way They had a few videos on about they've bought worms to resell, and it ends up there's the blue breakout. A lot of they're getting blues and they're supposed to be reds and stuff. We don't have that much here because we don't. In Australia, they're not really worried about reds and blues and stuff. It's normally mixed. But why I brought that up is because in business, them people that have done that, it doesn't matter if you're in business for 20 years and you make a mistake like that and you don't correct it and you say, well, look, I had a brain fart more or less and I've sent you the wrong ones, or, I'll correct it, whatever it is. Some people just say it's your problem. That's the way it is. It's not, people start social media and next minute you're looking and all you see these people's names clicking on there. And all that effort they've done all that years can go down within a week. And that's probably not just worm farming, that's any business. I see it time and time again. I watch probably too much YouTube over the years, but I pick up bits and pieces, like off you, Sandra, and a few others. I watch. I pick up little bits and pieces. I might see something like how many worms are in the bins, or breeding and stuff like that. I got my crazy cup here. My wife gave me. Focus in there. It says, she reckons that's me, and it says, "Keep rolling your eyes. You might find a brain at the back there." So it's pretty crazy cup she gave me. That's only my wife doing it, so she can get away with the cheekiness. But yeah, I see a lot in America. I keep saying America. You probably, Pete, a lot of people say stop saying America. This could be whatever. Well, I say America as all. Red wrigglers seem to be a very, very popular worm over there in America. I see a lot of videos and a lot of fishing worms, and that's what I got the idea of here. There's a lady in Queensland here, and she's selling red wrigglers, and I'm like, oh, I'll get someone to have a look. You see one of my previous videos, I got them. They were a bit skinny, a bit because the postman had them in the sun the whole lot. Anyway, I fast forward 3 or 4 months. They've been breeding and stuff now. The pure red wrigglers are actually a size worm for freshwater fishing, and now people are starting to get they're rather them worms than the European night crawlers, because night crawlers take 3 or 4 months to get to good size, and I sold too many last year, beginning of the year. And, by the time another 4 months rolls around, and you ended up with, you're going to be this year. Well, now I'm starting to tighten down and try to watch what I'm selling and what I'm breeding, because, as I said in my previous videos, what I've done is sold too many. I sold too many. I sold too many worms. And let worms breed and leave the eggs in there too long, and then they got juveniles, and next minute I got a worm full of more than 1,000, and it just got out of hand. So we all learn by our mistakes, and yes, so we all can learn off each other. It doesn't matter where you're from around the world. I've got these ones here. I'll see if I can get one here. Well, actually, I'll show you these worm here. So they're pretty lucky. Pretty lucky, because these two are getting a bit funky, if you know what I mean. Lucky worms are all. You see they tingle in the middle there. Right in the middle there. They call it center. They join up in the middle. If you haven't seen a mate before, into one big worm. That's two red wrigglers having a good time. Lucky red wriggler. This is a single one. A little bit cold at the moment. I don't know if you can see them or not. pretty hard on the computer to show them. But they're not massive, but they're a good size to put on a small hook for people to fish. I've had a few people lately, as I said, take the kids out fishing, and they'll put one or two of them on the hooks, and they last longer. They put the big night crawlers on that somehow they get off or they snap. So business wise, I try to think, okay, what would, if I took my kids fishing, what would I like? Because I'm surrounded by the Hawkesbury River here, pretty much. We've had a few people that have taken their kids fishing for the first time. They're 5, 6-year-old. They've come back out to Hawkesbury and realised there's no tackle shop out here apart from, BCF fishing and tackle. They don't sell worms; they'll sell plastics and that. A lot of people get sick of fishing with plastics. Cast them out and bringing them back in, and cast them out, bring them back in. I don't like it. I like to just cast it out, leave it there, and have a soft drink or something, and have a talk or just relax. And that's what a lot of people are finding now. It's a lot better for them to do so. But what's the weather? If you're still there, Sandra, what's the weather like out there and your way and your zone? I think they call it zones over there. I'm not too sure. Over here, our weather's been nothing like yours. We have probably 20 degrees at the time. 20 degrees, and a few things like that. Nights drop down to about 2 degrees or something like that. It's not much. But I think in the parts of America, they talk about zones. A lot of people that text me on the on my YouTube will say that I'm in zone A or zone B or whatever. I don't really understand. In Australia, we just got Bligh Park in certain areas. But yeah, it's most people got worms. Doesn't matter how big a worm farms you got. You can get your castings out. There's lots of videos out there. I've shown a few videos. Sandra has some videos. There's a lot of other people have got videos out there. How to dry them out, how to sift them, what bedding to use, the best way to do it. Just keeping it simple. Them castings you can dry out. You can keep you don't have to be wet. You can keep in a certain area out of the sun. There's multiple ways you can use it as a tea. You could use it as a sprinkle on top. Very rare I garden, but if I garden, I'll put some in the hole before I put the flower down or the vegetable down, the seedling down, and just gives a good start. I find it gives a good start. And saying that, also, you got to make sure if you've got castings in these worm tubs and these worm towels and stuff, you got to make sure you're not picking up uneaten food. Some people have uneaten food in there. They'll think, oh, it's all casting, so they'll grab a handful of wet stuff where the worms are not put in the garden and wonder why there's flies and stuff. What they're not realising is not. It could be avocado pills or a bit of banana peel, something in there is not broken down yet, and they're putting that into their garden, and then it just tracks black soldier flies and bad stuff like that. So you really got to be making sure if we've got them tower ones, you have to make sure mainly the bottom one, and if it's free levels, the bottom one will be more moist because any moisture will go down to the bottom. So the bottom one will catch some moisture. The middle one will be done before the top one, and the top one's the one you put the scraps in. So if it heats up, it won't heat the rest of the bin. Some people will put them on the bottom and every level, but they're people that know what they're doing. They've done it for years. But any beginners, you just got to be very careful. You do not need to be forking out big amount of money to have a worm farm. The basic one you can do, you can get a foam box from the shops, any type of foam box. You got to be careful; they're a little bit brittle. And you get them, and then you put. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Sandra. I'm glad you're back. And yeah, you just get a phone. Just get a phone box, and do what material you want in there. You can have peat moss, you can have cocoa core, or like Sandra has and makes people watch is make your own compost. Put your food scraps in, etc. If you want to go over to Sandra's channel, Nanny's Worms and Gardens, you'll see what I mean. She's got a lot of good videos to watch. They're genuine videos where you can just watch them and see mistakes we all make and how to improve stuff. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on worm farms. Plastic dish, plastic bucket, the right, as long as you get the bedding right, the moisture right, and the rest you can work from. And depending what climate you're from, where you're at, I have a lot of people text me from overseas, different parts of from Spain, Mexico, all types of things. And I tell them all, I'm in Australia. I cannot tell you what bedding's the right to use in that, because I don't know what Mexico's like or Spain or whatever, wherever you have to, I use chat GPT at the moment. I use the free one. I don't pay for it. It just tells you the basic stuff like a Google search, and they find that pretty good with different little things. But if you have a garden, as I say, you just got to. Once you do it, you got to make a few mistakes before you get better. Climate is pretty perfect. Red rulers, most years range. That's all right. Yeah, the Reds would like that, Sandra. I don't know if did you see before. I don't know if I think you're off. Did you see when I showed me the worm before? I'll show you again if I can find it. I've got a couple here. You can't really see them. Can't really see them much there. I know it's on camera. It's hard. If I can get it to stop. They're not great in size. They're half grown. I had a couple here before. Oh, they've untied this off. They're getting a bit funky before, but they seem to be selling better now. The next ones, the regulars. They're not some in these bins. Some in these bins, the breeded ones, they're bigger ones. On the camera, everything doesn't. Apart from my head, looks bigger, But these are they've got the Clotenta and the breeding age. The breeding age. It's terrible lighting here. Let's see if I can't really just see. I can crawl a bit. So they're only just at the breeding age. These ones I've got at the moment. This one might be a bit bigger, but they're a good size. They're a good size for fishing. And they're breeding pretty good. Me mixed one with the tigers and blues. I find they're not even. So as I showed you before, I've got which way them ones there. So half of them I've got reds, and half of them I've got. Well, most of them I've got reds, and then half I've got my composting ones. The composting ones are not as breeding as quick as these red ones. They're in the same light, same food, the whole lot. It's as you're saying, Sandra, it depending if I've changed back now to peat moss because getting a lot more worms as it goes on. You can see behind which way we are every time I point. Just there, the sifter there. The old hand sifter, I still do that because the machine thing's broken down. I was using the cardboard and using recycled stuff, which we all should do. But selling worms, I found it got too wet. They got too wet, and I had the moisture level up higher from the breed, and they're breeding really good, laying a lot of eggs and doing very good. Where more, if you have more with, if you've got on the drier side for the castings, yeah, it's okay, but they'd eat through the cardboard, and as soon as I put that cardboard in that sifter there, it just jams up. It's like a mud, putting mud in there. That's on me. That's the way I've done it. So I'd have to put it on the table. That table there, that little table there with a light, and then hand sift them out, and separate them with the hands. That worked good, but when you like, I don't know, Zach, how many worms you got, but I don't. Last time it was 5 hours straight, hand doing it. So it's easier to separate them out when you have more uniform bedding, if you care about getting worm leaves and compost. Well, see, you would have seen some of my videos when I done the leaf mulch and stuff. They loved it. They were breeding. They're out of control. They were breeding, very, very good, and everything was good. But before, when I was doing castings, I'd leave it 30 days or a lot longer, and I wait until they break the product down, and then I just sift it. I wasn't worried about eggs. I wasn't worried about. I worried about castings, because people wanted castings at the time. I was selling a lot of castings, right? And so they'd break down. Wasn't a problem. I wouldn't sift it until I said it was breaking down. I didn't care if I was breeding or weren't breeding. Now I've done a 360, and I've come back around and selling worms, and I put the moisture level up. I run into a problem where I can't sift it, So I've done what I do. I get the peat moss, spigrum peat moss from the down here, the big block, and I find that it dries. If I leave it a couple of days before I sift, it'll dry up, and I put it in that sifter. Which way is it again? It's always opposite. Hand sifter, and away I go. And the eggs will drop onto that table, because I'm not keeping the castings. The eggs will drop onto the table. After a big pole, I scrape it straight into a dish or in one of these blue bins behind me, and I'll put the eggs away straight away, and then reset into fresh peat moss. So far, that's working. And also, as you're probably aware, I feed about 20 to 30 kilos of food waste a week to them, and I put it through the incinerator, as you're probably aware. You've seen my videos, or anyone hasn't. So it pulverizes right down to a pulp. I leave it in the bucket, let the juice, most of the juice, come out of it in my back garden for the garden. The garden loves it. And then I'll get a little handful of it and put it in each bin in the corner there. With these ones here, I fed these ones. See here and there. Probably be the first one to drop worms on the floor, Sandra. Trying to show his worms off. Right. So these bin here, they're not real big bins, but I feed in the middle. So if it heats up, they can go to the sides, or I feed here, right? You can see that the peat moss is going black already. It was originally brown, but I feed them in the middle, and you'll see. Trying to see, and you'll see how they. It's very hard with it. Which way? There we go. They're going with it. They're going with the food source is anyway. I'll see if we can put that closer. So that's been in a week, and they pretty much broke it down. And no smell. There's nothing. But saying that, when you do that, when I do that, it's easier when I'm sifting. If you're in the middle, I can just grab that handful, like you do yourself, Sandra, with you're encouraging the worms on one side, and then you sift them from the other side. And I get a percentage of the 80% of the worms out, put them in the new bin, because I know I don't have to count them. And then when I'm sift, the eggs will fall down, get the eggs, and just tip what's uneaten back in the new bin. But the old way where I used to put them on the table, put the light, sift through them. I don't mind if you only got a few of them. You don't mind, but if you got like 5 hours straight, like it starts getting to you, like it's not fun anymore. Now when it's like yeah, the light thing. You are correct, Sandra. The light thing gets too slow. I've got a light here they use like for hydro light you use about that big. I put them on bricks and stuff. Now I used that at the beginning of the year when I was selling some of the worms, and the bedding was just wet. I mean, like it was wringing wet too much. Now jumping subjects. When I put too much, I put enough of how much to put in there now with the food scraps, the mulch down food scraps. So as you know, the microbes get it and then the worms get it, etc. A lot of people think you just put it in there, and then the worms come in like Pac-Man and eat it straight away. It doesn't work that way. But any moisture comes out of that food scraps, that peat moss will soak it up now. Where before I had paper, mixed up paper and bark and stuff. The bark was all right, but the paper would soak it up until I got that soaked up. It couldn't take any more. So I'd have about that much water sitting in the bottom. And with these pull-out drawers, I'm not going to. You drill a hole in one of them plastic drawers, they just shatter. They go to pieces. I know people say, "Oh, you should be sitting up this way, sitting out that way," but I tell people on my YouTube, I've got a thing called Buy Me a Coffee. If they want me to upgrade and buy all these miracle things, they can buy me a coffee or donate to me. I think John's the only one that's actually donated a coffee about 3 years ago. So until that happens, this is the type of stuff I'm going to use, and it's working so far. So I'm trying to make it where I can come in my days off and I can do stuff. That's why I don't put a lot of videos out, because I do a lot of shorts. I've been doing all right with shorts lately, but we need to get. Yes. Gentleman the other day. I know I never put names out there. It's not a bad thing. It's not nothing bad about people when I say that. I've grown up the way where until I talk to a person, say, can I talk about this? I don't talk about it. You know what I mean? But there's a person that does with YouTube stuff, and he was saying about my channel, and he was saying, oh, this is what you got to do and all that stuff, right? So I followed all the things, what to do, time periods, subjects, all that stuff. It's a hit and miss. Where other worm farmers I see, they might have hungry bins, or they might feed them every day, and they have millions of viewers because people want to see them get fed every day. That's okay if you're not working, whatever, you get the time to do so, I can't do that every day. I do shift work, so I work 4 days on and off. I work down here doing security at a military base down here. Most of the time I'm tired, so I haven't got the time to do that. I'd love to. I love worms. I'm worm crazy, but it's. He was saying, oh, you should have all these views, you should have this and all that. So anyway, what happened? I went, oh, it's up to him, what he does. And my views were going from I got 360, subscribers, not views, 360 subscribers. And it went up to about 470 very quickly when these people joined up. They subscribed and they said, we can get it better for you. I'm thinking, okay, that's their prerogative. If they want to reach out and I don't know help me out somehow, they can. I do this channel to share my knowledge and talk to other worm farmers. Money doesn't have an end in my head apart from when I sell the worms and likes and stuff like that. At the beginning, I was, but anyway, what happens when these people, this person hopped off and didn't subscribe anymore? All these subscribers, I went down to 360 from 370. And went back next week when they were back on again. So I don't know if it's a scam or whatever, trying to get you in there, trying to get you to join up or something. And I don't react to it. I do TikTok. I do a few other things. TikTok, I just go on TikTok. I'm known as the worm man on there because I couldn't use the things already, names already used. I have a lot of a big following there. But what I do, I'll put my YouTube link there, and people go on YouTube link to the DNA worm castings, which is my channel, which I've had for a long time. The Hawkesbury Worms, that's pretty much just a form to sell my worms, but business name is I've got two businesses, small businesses. DNA worm castings I've had for about 11 years, where I sold castings for a long time for all around the state. Everywhere I've done very good out of it. Not good enough to buy a sports car, maybe a few coffees and stuff and get the word out. But that died in the bum a bit. When COVID was on, everybody to buy it. I couldn't get enough. I was selling 80 kilos a month to people. They were paying more postage to get, you know. Hello, Anna. Yes, Anna, there could be in one egg, you could be, I'd say free. You probably could get free. Most people would say free eggs in one. Free babies in one egg, depending on what species of worm you're after. Everybody had, some people say 4. I'd say most of them have two babies per cocoon. They lay roughly about 3 cocoons a month. I'm only going what people tell me. Sandra might know better. I don't really count. I just like keep laying the eggs. I don't even once they hatch, you won't ever know. You won't ever know until you count them up. And yes, so it's still trying to get this working out here, this typing. And but yeah, if you everyone's different, and if you have a lot of people want to get out there and get big and stuff on the YouTube and all that stuff. Depending on what I've worked out, if you want to do it every day or you've got a subject people like, they'll do it. A lot of people go out and they'll give prizes away, they'll give money away, they give different things, and people just go and they get the subscribers. The problem is then when you stop doing that, the subscribers go elsewhere. They're only there for one thing. They're not worried. I'd rather have genuine subscribers on my channel that will stick with me and ask questions and just basic ask questions here and watch videos. I done one of the shorts the other day on John's farm there, and it got 3,400 likes and stuff like that. So people like different things, like gardening, like worms, they like worm eggs, so all types of things. But how many worms do you start when you're first? Oh, it's up to you, Anna. It's up to you how many you want, what purposes you want with them. You can start off at 500. I've known people start off at 250. I say people start off in the smaller ones, smaller amounts, and let them grow, and then they'll grow. And worms are actually quite smart. What they do, they're not like humans. They know when to stop breeding, like some humans don't. They know there's not enough food in the house, so they'll stop breeding and they just keep to that amount. It's in that bin. You always lose some, might get out or die or something like that. But depending on the food scraps and how many you're after, so it's no. I tell people when they buy them off me, they want to buy want to buy kilos of them. I said to them, I can sell you kilos of them. That's not a problem. All right. But you don't need it. I asked them, what do you need it for? And there might be a worm bin. I said, you don't need 3 kilos for a worm bin. So if it helps you, Anna, you got, so then he's saying, my latest worm science video was about breeding age for red wrigglers. They produce the most cocoons per week when they are 60 to 120 days old. Yes, Sandra. Yes, Sandra, I do remember, well, I'm subscribed to yours, and it's, I do remember watching that one yesterday, the day before I watched it. As I said, see, I watch that one, and I think, oh, this is good, like it's getting back to what 25 days or 21 days when I'm sifting him. I'm getting not many eggs, but a little bit of eggs. But before, when I was only using for castings, and I was leading them for 30 days plus, I was getting heaps of eggs. So I'm deciding now. I might leave mine to 30 days or a bit more now to sift them, because between 20 and 30 days you might get, as Sandra knows, you what you're trying to do is not have that baby worm in that bed because it's too hard to get out. And that's what happened to me at the beginning of the year. I for some reason, once I put my website up, everybody blew up. Everybody wanted worms, and I didn't expect it. And I started selling all what I had, and I ended up selling much. And I sold too many worms, and I started selling my breeders, etc. And then that's why I fell behind. Now it's going to take me a little bit longer to catch up. Now we're starting to get the warmer months. Now everyone's going to start to want to buy worms, and mine is still breeding age. And what happened? I left the eggs in there too long, in the trays too long, because I got busy with life and everything else like we do, and they hatched. So they already hatched. So when I did get around to sifting them, I had a lot of baby ones. And unless you can spend hours getting out little whips, little ones out each time out of a wet product, it does your head in. So I left them. So what's happened now? Everyone now a month and a half, people want to start buying worms. I hardly got none apart from ones out in the auto bins. But I just noticed the other day, I've got a terrible lot of juveniles, and it doomed to me. These juveniles are from the beginning of the year, which I didn't take out of the bins. So now I've had to go along and take them out and put them in smaller bins and etc. But that's part of learning. It's I come to realise that, I'm still going to have enough worms when it warms up for people to buy. But when it warms up, the warmer climate, as you know, Sandra, and that, they like the warmer climate, they'll start breeding more, start pumping more eggs out. But at the moment, once I sift them worms out of there onto the table, I'll sift them out onto the table there. So you go straight through. The eggs will go right through I think 1/8 will go through. So the worms are just left on top. I tip them into the new trays with bedding. It's already pre-made. Once I get it, and I scrape them into a bucket. And then I get the bucket, and behind me here, in there, I put all the eggs in there and the what's left over, what they haven't eaten. So the whole lot. I don't keep castings anymore. I've got so much castings here in big bulker bags from 7 months ago. No one buys them. I've been giving them away and selling it cheap. There's nothing wrong with it, just people not buying it. So where I sell my worms, say 1,000 worms, could be a bit more over 250 grams. We'll say 250 grams of worms. Sometimes you can have more than 1,000 because there's smaller ones in there. For about $40 to $45. I could sell a lot more than them in castings. So that's why I've swapped over to selling worms, not worried about the castings. Where other people all about the castings. If I still had the people to buy the castings, and like I did before, it'd be fine. It wouldn't be a problem. I'd separate the shed and have one for castings, one for not. Because as most people know, when you're on the casting side, you get the peat moss, etc., and you ring it out for a few drops, and it's a lot better, and they go through it. Where now I live on a bit of a more moist side. They like it for breeding, but when it comes to sifting, it can be a bit harder. You got to decide what you want. If you want to do for castings, this is what you're going to do. I've seen lately a lot of videos on migration, where you probably know Sandra already. They put cardboard, I think you've done it too. Put the cardboard one end and the food source on this side, so the worms will travel to the cardboard, and then you got them in that area there. You can just sift them out, and it allows the casting to dry out better. So if you know what you want and okay, I want to do castings, well, you've got to focus on castings. A lot of people say, can you do both? My opinion, you can, but you have to separate your business, separate your thing. Where I'm selling more worms. It's growing. It's a slowly growing business from a hobby to a business. I'm focused on the worms, so I like the moisture. Where for 11 years, could be even more, I sold castings, and they're all on the drier side. Once you put them through the sifter, they just fell through. They broke down. Everything was hardly nothing left. I sold, as I said before, probably 80 kilos a month. I had people from rare indoor plants, stuff like that on Facebook. Probably it's called Tasmania it's not Australia, in Australia, but out of Australia, Tasmania. It's probably 11, 14 hours, sometimes 20 hours away. Some of the people, and they were getting it. 10 and 20 people would get pitch in for 50 kilos of casting or 20 kilos of castings off me. And the shipping would cost nearly more than the castings, but they liked it. So once again, if you're thinking about selling castings, it can come back to what you feed them and what you do. I used to use dry aged horse manure and bark. And then that was for most. And then I used to sell the castings for $3 or $4 a kilo. But then the indoor people and the hydro people had their own tomato plants for medical use. They wanted more. They wanted more things. So I started using. That's why I started getting peat moss. Now with the peat moss or cocoa, mainly I tried cocoa core. It took longer to break down. The peat moss, and then I used to feed them a mixture, which I got the idea off a video. Growing greens, I think it's called, a gentleman in America. He goes around all the organic farms, and he's got one on the worm farmer there. I don't know I wouldn't say the biggest one in America, but he's a big worm farmer. And what partly mixtures he used to use. So I used to have the minerals. I'd have minerals. I'd have biochar. Have seaweed, I'd have barley, I'd have alfalfa. I had about 12 ingredients that I used to grind down into, not the minerals because they come in the powder. And I used to feed the worms this mixture, right? I'm not saying you have to go and do it. This is, if you want, what you put in is what you get back. And I used to sprinkle a bit on top of the worms in the trays, smaller trays. And the castings come out nice and black because they come out nice and black anyway. But in the castings itself, what the goodness is, okay? I never went and put the scientists. I think once I went and took some to a TAFE, and they wanted $250 for a little jar to test, and I had like 60 kilos of it, and I thought I'm never going to get my money back. But anyway, these people loved it, and they loved it, and they said, whatever you're doing with these castings, it's not just worm castings, it's what you're feeding the worms is what you get back. You can simply just feed them scraps. You can simply just feed them different things from the house, keep it simple, stupid, type of thing. But at the time, I was trying to make a good product of worm castings, and that's how I become for 11, 12 years, and it become good. And people bought off me, not off the warehouses or stores. Most of the castings you'll see, big companies, they'll put on the shelf. Same with the worms, they put on the shelf. It could sit there for months or out the back for months and dry out, and all the goodness gets out of it. You get it home, it's dry. You got to rehydrate it. I'm not just saying that because like competition, but they can afford it because they buy big things. The same as the worms. The big like the tool places and the warehouses here sell these worms and a stupid amount of money, and you get them half the time they're dead or dried up, or they're not even in the packet, or something goes wrong. And I tell people, if you want to go out and do it. Go to these stores and buy them, because the first thing they say, why would I want to pay you this amount of money rather than go here and buy them for half as much? I say, you go and buy them, and then you come back and let me know. And within a month, they'll come back and they'll say, I bought 500. There was only 100 in there. The rest were dead, or they're too small, or they buy castings and it's got some fancy label, and they're shopping with their eyes. It's got some fancy label, and they put it on their garden and it does nothing. You may as well just put dirt in there. So as I said, 11, 12 years, probably even more, I done that. I had a good amount of people buying it. But once COVID stopped, everyone went back to work and stuff. It died down very, very quickly. So that's business. And now I've got the Hawkesbury worm site, and I've got my DNA worm casting site. I wanted to change it, the DNA worm casting, to Hawkesbury worms, but it's too hard to do, and you can lose subscribers and stuff. So that's why I'm always explaining to people why people want to know why you got Hawkesbury worms when you're at DNA worm castings. Because DNA worm castings was one that I had many years ago. I've had before I went on YouTube. I had that. That's my logo. I've got shirts and all that stuff. People know me as that, Divided Castings. But on the worm side, people are starting to know the Hawkesbury because I live in the Hawkesbury area. So anyone out there with any questions, come forward. Let me know how you're going today, how you're feeling, how's your worms going. Most people get on here now, they're more than me, been around longer than me with worms. But as I said, we're here to share things about worms. I had another gentleman say to me, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast about worm farming and that. I'm like, well, it's okay if you know, if you're a technical person, but just this basic computer and getting a live stream has been a little used to me. So it'd be good to get the right time in the countries and get a few more people on there to talk. I think if you've got enough time to get on YouTube, you've got enough time to come and listen to me talk about worms. And I've had other people, since I had the live stream, I've only had 2 or 3 of them. I've had other people actually get on here and they're talking amongst themselves about, oh, that's right. And they're talking, the same age, what likes they want. And people were getting ideas off each other, in the comments. Other people tell me, oh, when I put this live stream, when I finish onto my YouTube channel, they can't see no comments. It's stupid. And I'm like, well, how you fix that? You go on my live stream. You know what I mean? I've tried to advertise it for a week before. People say that's too much. So I've used a couple of days. We've got to work together. People got to get back to me and tell me, okay, this is what we reckon would be a good time, All these things take time. Yeah, all of these, Sandra's saying, all these things take time. Doing videos is all can handle on top of everything else right now. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I see a lot of YouTubers that they're not so much worm farmers, but the farming side. They're saying I spent 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours editing my videos, and I'm like, whoa, what do you, mine basic just. I can't. I've tried to get fancy and put fancy thumbnails on my, because they say put a fancy thumbnail on your YouTube that catches people's eyes. I try to download it and it ends up coming too late, or can't do it. I give up on it now. People know what I do, so they get on there if they like it, they don't. Yes, well, like yourself, Sandra, you as I say, you've moved and you're busy. You moved, and it's going to take you a few months to get settled, and all types of things. It's life can be busy. It's only what you make it. That's what when I see people sitting around and they're bored, they've got nothing to do. I'm like, well, okay, well, you can get a job, you can go out and do something, get a volunteer, even if you've got injuries or your disability, whatever. It's easy for me to say because I'm not that person, but there's so much out there you can do. Even if you're in a wheelchair, you can get out in the sun, go to your garden, get something to do, get yourself out there to do. You know what I mean? We can all sit around and mope and say, "Poor me." End of the day, you won't. That's I'm not a religious person, but as an old saying says, God helps them that helps themselves. I think sometimes that's true. If you get off your ass and you go and do something, you volunteer your time, or you do your own garden, you do something. It's good for the mind, and your mind can be your friend or your enemy. It's everyone has their bad days. I've noticed the way things are now. There's a lot of busy times going on, and people don't have a lot of time. They have kids or illness or something like that. A couple of times, like I had some hernias taken out on March last year and stuff like that, and time before I cut my thumb off and all that stuff. Okay, they're minor things. When you talk to other people, there's people dying of cancer every day, and there's real bad things happening out there, and I'm getting around poor me, and then that's when I come to realize there's a lot worse people out there, and so now I say to people, there's a lot worse out there. Go and do something, get some worms. I've had people come to me and they go, I haven't got much money, and they want some worms and stuff. I've given them worms. I give it to them. And shown them how to set it up. And then in time, what's happened, they started breeding, getting a lot, and they've given me some back, or I've given them another cheaper worm farm. Some of these worm tub things you can find in council rubbish and stuff, or just a foam box or something small. And to get that person, there's certain person here, he has a lot of illness and issues, mental problems, and he does not going outdoors to people. And I can understand. But all his relatives, not all his relatives, or his mum he lives with, etc., they've come forward and they've said to me, you know what? He hardly's left the house. He hardly does. Now all he does is go out feed his worms, talks to the worms, etc., and it gets him outdoors. And he likes to get out in the shop and buy stuff now and get out, and it's got him out of the house. Just simple little things like that. What little things can do. A garden. People have gardens. One on the live stream from New Zealand last week, he was saying that they were both retired, and pretty much instead of them clashing horns, him and his wife, he's got the worms, his wife's got the garden. He gets the castings done. He gets and it's a joint thing. They keep the garden, and what they do, they grow their vegetables. And they get back what they have healthy soil and healthy garden, and they eat. And when you eat healthy stuff, what you grow yourself, you become healthy yourself. And as I said before, we're all going back to that circle back into the 80s and 70s, what they used to do with farming and that, about chemicals and grow your own food and all that stuff. Slowly, people are going back to the era where people used to do it. There's some families I know in Australia here. I have a lot of Pakistani, a lot of Indians that come and buy worms and castings off me because they're showing their kids what they used to do back in their own country, how they used to grow spinach, they used to grow turmeric, they used to grow all types of things. And they're showing the kids what they had to do. And now, years later, then kids come in there, 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, probably older, and they come knocking on the door or ringing me up. I don't know who they are. And they were trying to explain when they were here last. And they showed me their garden. It's not a real big garden, but he was again. But it's getting them out of the house, off the Xbox, getting them something to do, and eating organic and eating fresh stuff. If you ever grow in the garden, doesn't matter what it is. I've said it many times. The story, John knows the story, where my little one was 3 or 4 walking through the garden, and she used to get the baby carrots and pull them out and put them in the mouth, and the dirt was off it. I used to go off my head and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Put it down. You're going to get poisoned and that." So one day I let her eat it, So she dusted and let her eat it. You'd have to watch it because she'd go along the garden and pull these things and eat them. I tried one once. Their carrots are only that big, whatever. And I'll tell you what, that was a lot of years ago, and I still remember now till today how fresh that carrot was. It brought my memory back into when I was like 10-year-old, when I used to go on the neighbour's farm and eat. And he used to give us, he was a Maltese gentleman, he used to give us the tomatoes and fruit and all that to my parents. Now, I know everyone will say, "Oh, you need property, you need land." As Sandra knows, you don't need big stuff. You don't need acres. You can grow it indoors. There's multiple videos out there how to do it. But if you've got worms, and you can use the castings, you can use different things. A lot of the people use the worm juice if it comes to the bottom of the bins and stuff. I don't recommend that. And be smelly, you can have bad stuff in it. Simple thing, you got the right castings. If the castings where the worms will put it on top, etc. You can make a tea out of that. You can simply just put it in the stocking and mix it around. It's so easy. You can't get it wrong. And if you tip it on your plants, you're not going to burn it. You're not going to. It's a free chemical. It's chemical free. It's, if you do it right, and free fertilizer. You can't kill things. The only time you will do it if your worm farm still got uneaten food in that castings, and you grab that castings out, it's got bananas and uneaten stuff, and you put that in the water bucket and stir and tip it, you're going to get bugs and stuff. But that comes down to learning. There's lots of videos out there you can learn. I made a couple here and now. They make a lot of them about that. But you can make it simple. I've seen people. I watched the video the other day, and the bloke he had plastic tubs, worm farms that you normally put the clothes in and stuff, and he had him up in the attic. He had to pull the ladder down, and he climbs up the ladder. And yeah, it's a warmer climate, but what happened? He had African night crawlers, which like the heat, and no one even knows he's got worms. And he goes up there and feeds his box. Originally had it under his bed, and then he brings it down, and he does the indoor plants and stuff, and he gives a bit of castings to his friends, and now it's kicked off, and everybody wants it, and so okay. Well, Sandra say it's dinner time. Much appreciated, Sandra. You don't know how much it was for you to actually have you come on and share your knowledge and comment.